The US immigration system has several visa and green card options for investors, entrepreneurs, and business professionals. In this video, I'm going to discuss some of the more well-known options, as well as some of the options that you might not know about. So make sure to stick around. Hi everybody, my name is Michael Ashoori and I'm a US immigration lawyer based in Los Angeles, California. At my law firm, we work with clients from all over the world and we regularly post videos to keep you up to date with the latest immigration news and trends. So if you haven't yet subscribed to our YouTube channel, make sure to hit the subscribe button now. Also, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up so that YouTube knows to share this information with more people. As I mentioned in today's video, we're going to discuss visa options and green card options for investors, entrepreneurs, and business professionals. You might be surprised on some of these options that we're going to discuss. So let's get started. To start, I'd like to go over some non-immigrant visa options. And the first option that I want to discuss is the E2 visa. The E2 visa is a non-immigrant visa for investors and entrepreneurs. And basically, this visa option allows somebody to invest in a US business. They can either start their own business or they can invest in an existing business. And based on making that investment, the person can live in the United States and operate their business. So as you can see, this is essentially the perfect visa for an investor or an entrepreneur looking to operate their own business in the US. Now, a couple of important points about this visa. One, it's not available to citizens of every country. In order to qualify for an E2 visa, you must have citizenship of a country that has an E2 treaty with the United States. So you want to make sure about that. Secondly, you must own at least 50% of the US business that you invest in. Also, it's important to note that you must make a substantial investment in the business. You might be wondering, what's substantial? Well, the immigration regulations don't necessarily have a set dollar amount for what's considered substantial. We typically recommend that our clients invest at least $100,000, but investments for less than that can also get approved. Now, the second visa option that I want to discuss with you is the L1 visa. And the basic idea of an L1 visa is that it allows a foreign company to transfer a certain employee to work for a related US company. So for this to work, there has to be a foreign company, which is a non-US company, and a US company. And those two companies must have some type of a relationship with each other, such as a parent-subsidiary relationship or an affiliate relationship, or one company can be a branch office of the other company. And again, the way the L1 visa works is that it allows the foreign company to transfer an employee to work for the US company. Now, in order for this to work, the employee that's being transferred has to have worked for the foreign company as either a manager or an executive or a specialized knowledge worker for 1 full year within the last 3 years. And they must be coming to the United States to work as either a manager, an executive, or a specialized knowledge worker. Now, something really cool about the L1 visa is that there's a special subcategory of the L1 visa called an L1 new office petition. This is for US businesses that have been operational for less than 1 full year. And basically, through the L1 visa, the non-US company can transfer an employee to come work for the US company and basically build up the US company. Again, this is under the L1 new office petition. Now, this is a wonderful option for entrepreneurs and business professionals because the employee that's being transferred to the US can be an owner of the business. It's okay for the L1 visa beneficiary to also be an owner and an equity holder of both the foreign company and the US company. That's totally permitted under the L1 visa, again, assuming all the requirements are satisfied. So the third visa option that I want to discuss with you is the O1 visa. The O1 visa is for people that have an extraordinary ability in a particular industry. For example, if somebody has an extraordinary ability in the arts, in the sciences, in the athletics field, or if they have an extraordinary ability in business. Now, what does that mean exactly? Well, the way it works is that USCIS uses various criteria to determine whether somebody has an extraordinary ability. They will look to see whether the person has critical roles within an organization, whether they have awards accredited to them, whether they have a particularly high compensation conversation, whether they have press released about them, and various other criteria. And the person that's applying for the O1 visa has to basically demonstrate that they satisfy at least 3 of those criteria. Again, there's a list of about 9 or 10 different categories, and you have to show that you satisfy at least 3 of those categories in order to qualify for an O1 visa. Again, I want to make clear that business is one of the industries that's eligible for an O1 visa. So if somebody has an extraordinary ability in business demonstrated by evidence of a particularly high salary or evidence that they have a critical role within a business, for example, if they're the CFO or the CEO of a very large company, if they can demonstrate that they have a high salary, if they have press releases about them, or if they otherwise satisfy 3 of those requirements, they can potentially qualify for an O1 visa. So this is one of those visa options that many of you might not necessarily know about, but that could still potentially be a great option for a business professional or an investor or an entrepreneur to work in the United States. So now that we discussed 3 visa options for business professionals to work in the United States, let's now discuss green card options available to business professionals, investors, entrepreneurs, etc. So the first green card option that I want to discuss is the EB1A green card. And basically, this is very similar to the O1 visa that we just discussed. The EB1A green card is a green card through self-petition for people that have an extraordinary ability. So similar to the O1, if somebody has an extraordinary ability in a particular industry, such as in the sciences, athletics, business, the arts, etc., and they can demonstrate that they have an extraordinary ability by satisfying one of those criteria, for example, high salary, press, awards, critical roles within an organization, etc., and they can demonstrate that they satisfy at least 3 of those criteria, and more so, they must demonstrate that they're at the top of their field or particular industry, then they could potentially qualify for an EB1A green card. Again, I want to make clear that this option is available to business professionals and entrepreneurs. We actually recently got 2 of these applications approved for entrepreneurs that were able to successfully get their green cards based on their particular credentials. So again, this is another not so common green card option for business professionals and entrepreneurs looking to come to the United States that have a particular background of excellence in their field. The second green card option that I want to discuss is the EB1C green card. So the EB1C green card is for multinational managers and executives. And this is quite similar to the L1 visa option that we discussed earlier. And basically, the way the EB1C green card works is that it's available to somebody that's transferring from a foreign company to a related US company. So again, in this example, there must be 2 companies, a non-US company and a US company. Those 2 companies must have some type of a qualifying relationship with one another, such as parent subsidiary, or they could potentially have an affiliate relationship with one another, or a branch office relationship with one another. And the employee that's being transferred from the foreign company to work for the US company must be coming to work as either a manager or an executive. And they must have worked for the foreign company as a manager or executive for at least 1 year over the last 3 years. In addition, to qualify for an EB1C green card, the US company must have been operational for at least 1 full year before applying for the EB1C green card. So just so you know, EB1C is a very common path for people to pursue their green card after entering the United States on an L1 visa. So somebody that initially enters the US on an L1 visa could be petitioned by the US company for an EB1C green card once the US company has been operational for at least 1 full year, assuming that the requirements for EB1C are met. And again, this is a particularly good option for business professionals and entrepreneurs because the EB1C beneficiary can have equity or ownership in the business that's petitioning for their green card. And lastly, the third green card option that I want to discuss is the EB5 green card. So the EB5 green card option is for investors and entrepreneurs that make a major investment in a US company. Now, the basic idea is that the investor invests in a US business and creates jobs for US workers, and based on that investment and that job creation, the person can qualify for a green card. And the specific requirements requirements are that the person invest $1.8 million or a reduced amount of $900,000 if the business that they're investing in is located in a targeted employment area, which is an area that's either experiencing high unemployment or is a rural area. In addition, another requirement is that the investment that they make must lead to the creation of 10 full-time jobs for U.S. workers. The funds that the investor uses must also come from a lawful source. Now, under the EB5 green card option, an investor can choose to either invest in their own business, they could invest in an existing business if various requirements are met, or they can invest in a regional center project. A regional center project is usually a large-scale development of some kind, whether it's a hotel development or perhaps a sports arena or some other large-scale project where there is a management team already in place managing that development. And basically, as an EB5 investor investing in a regional center, you usually acquire a small equity stake in the project, and it's totally managed by the management group in place. You as the investor in a regional center project have very little involvement in the day-to-day operations of the business, as opposed to a direct investment, which is when you invest in your own business and you have much more responsibility over the day-to-day operations of the business. Now, if you recall, earlier in this video, we discussed the E2 visa. A popular option for E2 investors, people that are in the US on an E2 visa, is to later on convert their E2 visa to an EB5 green card by basically investing additional money into their business. So let's say an E2 visa holder initially enters the United States on an E2 visa having invested $100,000. If they invest additional capital in their business to meet the minimum EB5 visa requirement, they could potentially apply for an EB5 green card if the various requirements are satisfied. So there you have it. In this video, we discussed 6 separate options for investors, entrepreneurs, and business professionals to either get a visa or a green card to the United States. For the non-immigrant visas that we discussed, we talked about the E2 Investor Visa, which is for investors to invest in a US business. We talked about the L1 visa, which allows a foreign company to transfer certain employees to work for a related US company. And we talked about the O1 visa, which is a non-immigrant visa for people with an extraordinary ability. In terms of the green card options that we discussed, we talked about the EB1A green card, which is for people that have an extraordinary ability in business, very similar to the O1 visa. We talked about the EB1C visa, which is for multinational managers and executives. Again, this was very similar to the L1 visa. And we talked about the EB5 investor green card, which is for somebody that invests a very substantial amount in a US business, either $1.8 million or $900,000, depending on the circumstances. And again, they're required to create 10 full-time jobs. That's the EB5 green card option. So I hope you guys found this video extremely helpful. I know this was a lot of information, so if you have any questions whatsoever, feel free to drop them in the comments below. If you know anybody that could benefit from this information, definitely make sure to share this video with them. We're all about empowering you with knowledge. So the more people that can benefit from this information, that can actually watch this video, the better. As always, thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I will see you on the next video.